Greetings, this is Fordham and welcome back to Let's Play Lamplight City, where we're finally investigating the Justice Killer. And for now I'm looking at his previous victims.
You there! What are you doing?
I'm Miles Fordham. I'm trying to find out about...
No time for that now! Get in here and shield your eyes!
I beg your pardon?
Shield your eyes!
What's going on exactly?
Shh! Everything ready, Alex? 3, 2, 1, go! Amazing! It works! It works!
What works?
Etheric lamps! Our experiment was a success!
What exactly have we wandered into here, Miles?
It's gonna explode, isn't it?
I wouldn't get too close to that thing. It might end up turning you inside out.
May I ask you a few questions?
Of course! What would you like to know?
These glasses are popular apparently.
You worked with a man named Burley Cause, is that right?
Yes, I heard he was killed. Such a senseless tragedy. It's a shame he missed out on our demonstration. He was really interested in etheric technology.
Wasn't he concerned about losing his job to these technological advances?
He had no reason to. It's been made clear to all the workers that there will always be a place for us, even if our jobs are made obsolete. Unlike some other places, we take care of our own here at the Lamplight Depot.
How noble. But I'm pretty sure he's...
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Is there anything you know about Mr. Cause's personal life that might be relevant?
I know he was married, but I don't believe he had any children. Oh, and he used to talk about his love for fishing.
Could you give me his home address? Perhaps his wife will be willing to speak with me.
Yes, certainly. He lived at 820 Orchard Avenue, apartment 2A.
Thank you for the information. Do you know any details about Mr. Cause's murder?
Unfortunately, I don't. The police were here asking questions, but they didn't give me many details.
Do you know of anyone who might have wanted him dead?
Not at all. Burley was very friendly, always treated everyone around here with respect. You know, it's sad to think that for all our leaps forward, we're still really just a bunch of savages.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
I've read about it in the newspaper. A horrible business. It makes me wish we could install more street lamps to keep this city safer at night. Someday, I hope to realize that dream. Then we'll really deserve to be called Lamplight City.
You think brighter streets will stop serial murderers?
It's well known that crime rates are lower in Lyon and Worcester, and they have many more street lamps per square mile.
I'm sure it has absolutely nothing to do with the amount of wealth in those areas. Has to be all about the lighting.
You mentioned something about etheric lamps?
Yes! Weren't you paying attention to our demonstration? You have just witnessed history!
What I witnessed was a blinding flash of light.
Exactly! That flash was the result of years of painstaking research and experimentation. It means that not only does ethericity exist, but it can be used as a source of illumination. If these experiments continue to be successful, as I suspect they will, we'll have etheric street lamps before the end of the decade. Imagine lamps that burn twice as bright, 4 times as long. Oh, this will change everything.
And if it's like anything else we've seen, it'll put a lot of people out of work, too.
This guy's delivery is very energetic.
With all these promises of technological advancement, have the Redites given you any trouble?
Oh, those tech-fearing dolts. Yes, I'm sorry to say that we've gotten threats from them. They have yet to carry any out, which is unsurprising.
How so?
Groups like that are all bluster and no backbone.
I've seen some evidence to the contrary.
Is that right? Well, we've seen little beyond threatening letters, and I intend to make sure it stays that way.
Do you have any of these letters I might have a look at?
Yes, I have one. I'll give it to you before you leave.
What is it you do here exactly?
Oh, several things. This is the main hub of the city's Department of Illumination. It's really just a grandiose way of saying that this is where all affairs related to street lamps and public lighting are taken care of. But, in addition to sending out lamplighters or mechanics to repair damaged lamps, we also do research into new methods of illumination. That's what my personal specialization is. I help develop and test more efficient ways of lighting our streets. I guess you could consider me a modern
Wow.
Prometheus. Yes.
More like an everyday pretentious.
Thank you. Your cooperation is much appreciated.
Happy to help.
Also, the Department of Illumination is a pretty
Who's
cool
that
name.
letter you were asking about?
To the engineers of chaos and destruction, you are working in direct opposition of the natural order of things. These so-called improvements will be the downfall of our society. If you do not cease your unholy experiments, the Redites will be forced to take actions. You have been warned, PF.
Now that's interesting. Whoever wrote this
Who
letter
the hell signs a threatening letter
can't
to
have been
someone?
so stupid as to make themselves so easily identifiable, can they?
I mean, maybe.
Too bad you didn't get a chance to read that sign before their little experiment.
PF. Son of cool.
Remember, a black eye is not a badge of honor. Anyone picking a fight will be dismissed immediately. Well, that's hardly any fun, is it?
Is that guy dead or he's managed to sleeping? Managed to sleep with all this noise. That's pretty amazing, actually.
I thought about a career as a mechanic once. Glad I chose police work. Way less messy.
Good evening.
Oh, it's you again. Small world.
Indeed, Mr. Shaw, was it?
That's right. So, what brings you around to the cab depot?
I wanted to ask you some questions if you can spare some time.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I remember you.
Did you know Reggie Willingham?
Reggie? Sure, I knew him. Well, just as rather I didn't.
Oh? Why do you say that?
The man was a bore, a scoundrel, a no-good bounder.
I wish he would tell us how he really felt.
Only reason they kept him on here was because he was a good driver.
So it's fair to say you didn't like him?
Nobody did. When I heard he'd been killed, wasn't exactly a surprise. If I treated people the way he did, I'd surely have a lot of enemies.
Could you elaborate a bit on Mr. Willingham's behavior?
Oh, he was a proud one. Thought he was God's gift to mankind. Always strutting around, bragging about how many gratuities he'd earned or how many fist fights he'd won against drivers from Phillips. He had the shortest fuse I've ever seen, too. Just looking at him the wrong way could set him off. I'd always laugh to myself when he'd brag about how many women he'd had in a week.
Why is that?
Because it was obvious he had to pay for the pleasure. A man like that isn't going to get a woman otherwise. I may not be a hit with the ladies, but even I know that being a bastard is a surefire way to drop off.
I don't think that's exactly accurate, but sure.
Are you familiar with the so-called justice killer?
I've heard a few rumors here and there about some murders in the chum, but I haven't paid them much attention. There's plenty for me to worry about in my own life.
Aren't you concerned for your safety?
Not really. I haven't done anything wrong. So if this loony's going around doing justice, nothing for me to worry about.
He makes a good point. I think we need to get a better idea of what exactly these victims
Yeah,
did
no shit.
to incur the wrath of our killer.
What can you tell me about Colson Cabs?
Not a bad place, really. Only problem is the number of people always coming here for work. Lots of folks think driving a cab is an easy job that anyone can do, but that's not the case. You need to know this city like the back of your hand, and it helps to know how to drive. So we get lots of fellas starting here who don't have the slightest clue what they're doing. They don't last long.
What about the automated cabs? Are those a problem for you?
I prefer not to think about those. Coulson said he's got no plans to replace his fleet, so That's all that matters to me.
Are you still living in Pumblechook Place?
I am, sir. Things are more or less the same, except Roger's not around anymore. Suppose he must have moved on. Hope he isn't planning on coming back, because his paintings made for great kindling.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
I have a feeling he won't be. Have you had any trouble from the Redites?
No, sir. They got no reason to give us any trouble, what with us still using horse-drawn cabs. I imagine the fellas over at Phillips have, but I can't be certain. We don't deal with those lot if we can help it.
I don't think interviewing anyone from Phillips would be a good use of our time. Our priority is finding the Justice Killer, after all.
I appreciate your time, sir.
Pleasure's all mine.
Alright. I guess we'll go speak to the wife.
Apartment 2A. This is the place. The number is a bit faded. Is this 2B? Or is it not 2B? That's
Wow.
the question. And I thought the housekeeping in my apartment
Great.
was bad. There doesn't seem to be anyone at home.
Yeah? May I help you, young man?
Hello, madam. My name is Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I have some questions about your neighbor.
You mean my former neighbor?
Yes. In any case, I'd appreciate it if you could help me with some information.
Nah, I don't think so. The last person to ask me about him was that awful policeman. I don't want to have to go through that again.
I'm sorry you had a bad experience, but I can assure you I won't give you a hard time.
No, that's easy for you to say. But actions speak louder than words.
Uh-oh. I think I know where
Yeah.
this is going.
Is there anything I can do for you then?
Well, since you asked, my layabout husband is out wasting our retirement fund with his drinking. Go find him and bring him back here. Then maybe we can talk.
Oh, wonderful. Now we're playing babysitter.
You'll find him at the Silent Raven. It's not too far from here.
Yeah, we know where it is.
My husband's name is Kurt Williamson. You tell him his wife Ethel wants him home at once.
I'll do my best, Mrs. Williamson.
It's funny that so far in this case we seem to be going back to all the places from the previous cases and characters. I wonder if this is the last case. It would make sense for this to be the last case, but I'm not sure. Since I usually don't look at things like that because it would be spoilers. This is still here.
Looks like they haven't bothered cleaning this up yet.
And no one closed that? Okay. Alright, let's see.
Excuse me, are you Kurt Williamson?
That's right. Who are you?
Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator.
Oh, yeah? What is it you want from me?
Ethel sent me to tell you she wants you to come home right away.
I should have known. I can't get away for more than a few hours before she's put the entire city on high alert. How much of my retirement fund did she waste on getting you to come down here?
I'm only doing this because I need some information.
The joke's on you, then. You can just go back and tell her I'll come home when I'm damn well ready.
Why is it you're so averse to returning home?
I enjoy going out and having a good time. Is that so wrong?
Your wife told me she doesn't like you spending your money on drink.
What I spend my money on is none of her business, and even less of yours.
True.
What's this world coming to when a man can't even drink in peace without all his affairs shouted from the rooftops?
You know, this whole situation seems awfully familiar.
Listen, Mr. Williamson, I think I know what you're going through.
Oh, yeah?
My wife and I were having a rough patch. I wasn't being honest with her, and it nearly drove us apart.
But you managed to fix things.
Yes, I was fortunate. I did the right thing before it was too late.
And what did you do?
I thought you had a good time.
It was simple. I just communicated honestly and openly with her. I told her what was wrong and how I was feeling. And you know what? She listened. Have you ever told Ethel why you like going out?
No. I assumed she wouldn't understand. I really wish she would come out with me, but I know she'd never agree.
How do you know? Have you actually talked to her about this?
Well, no.
Well, then maybe you should. If she knew you wanted company, she might just give it a try.
You know, I never thought of it like that. I'm going to go home right now and tell her. And if she refuses, well, at least I asked, right?
That's the spirit.
Thanks for the advice, friend. I really do appreciate it.
Alright, I thought I would have to cut him off by using the barmaid.
Not bad. I have to say, I'm impressed.
But that worked.
Excuse me, barmaid.
Hi, what do you need?
Do you know anything about the man sitting at that table?
We already did
Not
that.
really. I
Okay.
see his type all the time.
Yeah, okay.
How are things here now that the election hubbub has subsided?
Oh, right. I thought you looked familiar. You were the one in here asking about the fellow who was killed.
That's right.
Well, there hasn't been too much excitement since then. I've hardly had to toss anyone out, which is a right shame.
Why's that?
Kicking out a rowdy customer shakes things up a bit on a quiet night like this. Gets the blood flowing, you know?
What would a customer have to do to warrant being thrown out?
This is again for the other thing.
The rule is, if they're being a nuisance, they're out. If they try to pick a fight, or are just being generally disrespectful, it's a one-way ticket to the pavement outside.
I'm guessing this in case you didn't manage to convince the guy.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
What is that, some fancy drink concoction?
No. It's the name that's been given to a serial murderer here in the Chump.
I see. Never heard of him. And if he's smart, he won't show his face around here.
You know, this place suddenly feels just a little bit safer.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright. Hopefully they haven't killed each other.
Ah, Mr. Fordham. Thank you so much for getting Kurt back home.
Don't mention it. Now, would you be willing to answer some questions?
Why, yes, of course.
Goddamn. That portrait.
Tell me what you know about Burley Cause.
He and his wife hadn't been living next door very long, maybe 4 months or so. But I didn't talk to either of them very much. They weren't interested in being neighborly, I guess. It's a shame, really. Maybe if we had known one another better, something like this could have been prevented.
What happened on the day Mr. Cause was killed?
I was here, at home, doing my knitting as usual. All of a sudden, I heard a loud bang. It sounded like a gunshot. I went and knocked on Mrs. Caus's door, but there was no answer. I did notice a smell, though, like flowers. Something seemed wrong, so I decided to report the incident to the police. Not long after that, an officer showed up and started asking questions. Awful man he was, so rude. I could report him, but I forgot his name. I think it started with a P.
Parsons?
Yes, that's him. He called for some more officers and they got into the apartment. That's when I found out Mr. Cause had been murdered.
Where is Mrs. Cause now?
I don't know, with her mother maybe. That's usually how it goes.
You wouldn't happen to know where that is, would you?
Afraid not, but there is one other thing.
Yes?
Don't say I told you this, but... Well, I used to hear the two of them through my wall. I tried ignoring it since it was really none of my business, but it became impossible.
What was it you heard?
I don't believe they had a happy marriage. They'd have awful fights a couple times a week.
What would they fight about?
Oh, all sorts of things. The worst one was when she discovered he was going to a brothel. I think he might have hit her on a few occasions, too, but it can't be certain. I hope you don't think me a gossip, but I thought you might like
Another one that hits
Not at all. I'm
his woman.
glad you told me. How long have you been living here?
Well, Kurt and I moved in shortly after we were married, so it's been about 34 years.
Goodness, that's a long time to be living in one place.
Yeah.
Yes, well, the building may be a bit run down, and it gets colder than cold in the winter, but the rent has always been cheap. You can't really ask for much more than that.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
You mean the serial killer who's been killing men in Chumley?
That's the one.
Nah, never heard of him.
What?
I'm just pulling your leg, Mr. Fordham.
I like this one. She's got spirit.
Unfortunately, I only know what I've read in the Gazette, but it's scary to think some maniac is loose on the streets doing such terrible things. And with Kurt going out by himself for hours at a time, oh, I don't like it one bit.
I appreciate your time, Mrs. Williamson.
Have a good day, Mr. Fordham.
Yeah, right. So again, this is the second time this is happening. Still have no clue about the sabotage though. Reggie Williams. Personal life. No, we know no one's there.
There doesn't seem to be anyone at home.
Yeah, I was wondering if we can open it. Apparently not. I guess we're only left with the Parliament for now. Yeah, it's the morgue guy.
What brings you to this delightful spectacle?
Hello, Edwards. I'm investigating the Justice Killer. I believe I've got a very promising lead.
I heard an officer mention new orders from Snelling, but I thought he was just pulling my leg. Feel free to have a look around. I'm just writing up the notes from my initial examination of the body, so I'll be happy to share my findings.
Good. I'll just get started then.
This also looks different, and a scene of flower.
Looks pretty fresh. I wonder what the killer uses to write with.
I like that he avoided that.
Nothing but a bunch of boring documents. You'd think he could have at least been considerate enough to keep something scandalous in here. Odd. The page for this month has been torn out. Do you suppose Edwards might know anything about that?
We'll ask him.
The former Percival McDonough, being a good politician. Leave it to a politician to hang a portrait of himself in his own office. No signs of forced entry that I can see. The murderer didn't come in through this window.
Someone let him in.
Got a moment, Edwards?
Of course. What's on your mind?
So, what was found at the crime scene?
A dead body.
Edwards.
Hey, just trying to lighten the mood a bit. Anyway, there was also the word justice written in blood, as you can see on the floor there.
Is that all?
What more do you need? All the pieces are in place. This is the work of the Justice Killer.
There is no flower, so maybe it's not a Justice Killer.
What did your examination of the body turn up?
Apparent cause of death was a single gunshot to the head, exactly like all the other victims. The bullet is
Could be a
still lodged in
copycat.
his brain. I'll remove it once I transport the body back to the mortuary.
Anything else?
No personal effects of note, just a folded up piece of paper in his breast pocket. It's blank, so the police weren't interested. I assume you aren't either.
Never assume, Edwards. I'll take it if you don't mind.
Be my guest.
Did the police manage to learn anything during their investigation?
Not much beyond what I've already told you. I think they were planning on speaking to the victim's wife, though.
Did you get the address?
I did, as a matter of fact. 1820 Kent Place.
Now we get to deal with the grieving widow. Hopefully the officers who delivered the news got the worst of it.
Did you find an Easter lily anywhere?
An Easter lily?
Yes. The Justice Killer leaves one at every crime scene.
Is that right? I never noticed.
Neither did anyone else, apparently.
So how does leaving a lily at the scene of the crime figure into all of this?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think it might be important to understanding his motive.
Well, be sure to let me know if you do figure it out. The thought process of killers is a twisted, curious thing.
What's your take on this whole Justice Killer situation?
It's giving me a lot of extra work, let me tell you. We haven't had a serial murderer in a long time. Not since that fellow who was poisoning people about 10 years ago.
Ah, yes. Gascon Ghoul. Now there was a case.
Any theories or insights regarding the killer's motive or identity?
That's not really my specialty. If you want to get into that psychology stuff, you're better off talking to someone like Snelling.
Edwards, did you notice McDonough's desk calendar?
I did. This month has been torn out. I asked the officers investigating the scene, and they had no idea what happened to it.
So it wasn't found in this room?
That's right. My theory is that the killer took it.
Which means there was probably something incriminating written on it. If only there was some way of knowing what it was.
Miles, have you forgotten the oldest trick in the book? Just find a pencil and you'll have that information in no time.
Edwards, do you have a pencil I might borrow?
Of course. Take this one.
Thank you. Does it feel good to be out of the office?
As long as I have the chance to examine a body and learn something in the process, I don't care where I am. Though I do admit a preference to working in my own environment. Fieldwork can be a bit uncertain. There's so much more potential for contamination, especially with those clumsy officers trouncing about groping everything. Present company excluded, of course.
That's all for now, Edwards.
Good luck with your investigation.
I wonder if the killer is a cop or something.
A classic trick. Let's see if it works.
Nothing so far. Ah, there we go. Ruby. Yeah, we heard of a ruby before. Okay, do we still need to keep going? Oh, there we go.
Intriguing. I wonder if this is the same Ruby the girl at the coffee house mentioned.
That's it? Okay. Can we stop? Make it as dark as possible. Going to press escape or something? Let me see if it finishes or something. No, I can't seem to get out of this. I'm trapped. I seriously need to get all of it as dark as possible? That's strange. Feel all of it. Game. Let me go game. Finally. Jesus.
McDonough met with this person the night of the murder. I'll bet 500 crowns it's a false name, but at least it's something.
So Ruby and T.
It seems the
Shockley.
killer didn't want anyone to know about this meeting with McDonough, and possibly not with Ruby either. No time to waste with...
Okay. I guess that's all then. Let's save it here and we'll end the episode here. Now we've got some clues. We'll see. Maybe I'll go to the police station next. For now though, thank you for watching. As usual, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe, like, all the good stuff. I'll be back next time with more Lamplight City.